Let's be honest for a moment. There is a quiet moment in human connection that most people never notice. A moment when something inside a woman shifts, when interest slowly turns into something deeper, something more intentional. And the strange thing is, most men completely miss it. Not because the signs aren't there, but because they are subtle, quiet, almost invisible. Many men expect attraction to be loud. They expect obvious flirting, compliments, dramatic signals that leave no room for doubt, but real emotional attachment rarely begins that way. In reality, the clearest signs a woman has already chosen a man are the ones that confuse men the most. Because when a woman becomes emotionally invested in someone, she rarely announces it. Instead, she protects it. And that quiet protection changes the way she behaves around you. When a woman truly begins to see a man as someone meaningful in her life, she enters a strange emotional state. Part of her feels excitement, but another part feels fear. Excitement because she begins imagining possibilities, what it might feel like to build something real with you. But fear appears at the same time, because the moment someone becomes important, the possibility of losing them suddenly exists too. And when a woman feels like she has something to lose, she becomes careful, not manipulative, not calculating in a negative way, just protective of her heart. That protection shows up in ways most men misunderstand. The first sign is something almost nobody recognizes. She begins watching you, more than she talks to you. At first, that might sound strange, but pay close attention to how people behave when they are deciding whether someone matters to them. A woman who hasn't emotionally chosen a man yet interacts with many men in similar ways. Friendly conversations, light laughter, surface-level curiosity. But when her attention narrows toward one specific man, something shifts. Her behavior slowly changes from talking to observing. She begins studying you, not in an obvious way. Not like someone staring or interrogating you. It's much quieter than that. She notices the way you react to situations, how you treat strangers, what makes you laugh without trying, what annoys you, whether your actions match the things you say. Because once a woman starts thinking about a man seriously, a silent question begins repeating inside her mind, a question she may never say out loud. Is this man safe for my heart? And safety, for a woman, is not only about protection. It's about emotional consistency, predictability. The feeling that the man she's watching is genuine, not pretending to be someone he isn't. So, while you might think she's being distant, she may actually be paying closer attention to you than anyone else in the room. She notices the patience you show when things go wrong. She notices how you react when someone disrespects you. Whether you stay calm or lose control, whether you treat people with quiet respect, even when no one is watching. All of these small moments become pieces of a psychological picture forming in her mind, a blueprint of who you truly are. And here's the part that surprises many men. The more she begins to like you, the quieter she might become. Because when a woman feels emotionally exposed, she doesn't rush forward. She slows down. She becomes careful with her words, careful with her energy, almost like someone holding something fragile in their hands. This is where many men accidentally push a woman away. They assume her quiet observation means she's losing interest. So they begin trying harder. They talk more, they chase more, they try to impress her constantly. But from her perspective, that sudden shift can feel forced. What she was watching for was something very different. Calm confidence, emotional stability, a man who is comfortable enough with himself that he doesn't feel the need to prove his value every moment. And when she sees that, something powerful begins to happen inside her. Her guard lowers, not completely, not yet, but just enough for small pieces of her personality to begin appearing around you. Little laughs she doesn't show everyone, honest opinions she usually keeps quiet, tiny moments of vulnerability. Most men miss these signals completely, because they are waiting for fireworks. But emotional investment rarely starts with fireworks. It starts with attention. And if you begin paying attention yourself, you might notice something subtle. When she enters a room, her eyes don't search everywhere. They search for one person first, you. Another quiet shift begins to appear once a woman has truly chosen someone emotionally. She starts creating small reasons to stay connected to your world. Not dramatic reasons, not desperate attempts for attention, just natural, simple excuses that keep a thread between your life and hers. Because when a woman feels drawn to a specific man, distance becomes slightly uncomfortable. Not because she needs constant attention, but because emotional connection grows through presence. So she begins finding subtle ways to remain part of your orbit. Maybe she sends you a message about something random that reminded her of you. A short video, a joke, a small question she could easily ask someone else. On the surface, it looks casual, but psychologically, something deeper is happening. She is creating continuity. Women often build emotional connection through shared experiences and ongoing interaction. Each small conversation becomes another thread tying your world to hers, another reminder that you exist inside her daily thoughts, and that detail matters more than most men realize. Because a woman who hasn't emotionally chosen you yet rarely invests energy into maintaining that connection. She responds when you reach out. She participates when conversation happens, but she rarely initiates the continuation of interaction. That effort is usually reserved for someone who feels meaningful. So when a woman keeps reopening the door to conversation, even in small ways, it reveals something powerful. You exist in her mind. Even when you're not around, you're no longer just someone she occasionally talks to. You've become someone her thoughts return to naturally throughout the day. And when that happens, another shift begins to appear. She starts inviting you into her personal world, slowly, gently. Maybe she tells you about something stressful that happened at work. Maybe she shares a childhood memory. Maybe she asks your opinion about something she could easily decide on her own. To many men, these conversations seem ordinary. But for a woman, sharing pieces of her inner life is a quiet form of trust. Because emotional intimacy is how many women measure closeness. Each story she tells, each small confession, each detail about her day is a subtle test. She's watching how you respond. Do you truly listen? Do you dismiss it? Do you understand the feeling behind her words? Because when a woman lets someone into her personal narrative, she is subconsciously imagining something bigger. She begins wondering what life would feel like if you were a permanent part of it. That imagination is powerful. But it's also fragile. This is where many men unintentionally make a mistake. They treat those conversations casually. They respond with distracted attention, short replies. But to her, those moments were invitations into her emotional space. And when a man enters that space with genuine presence, something shifts inside her. She feels seen, not just admired for how she looks, but understood as a person. And when a woman feels deeply understood by a man, her attraction begins to anchor itself. You stop being simply interesting. You start becoming important. And importance changes everything. Because once a woman begins to see a man as emotionally important, she starts paying attention to something else. Not only how he treats her, but how he treats his own life. She becomes curious about your direction, your goals, your growth. She remembers details you mentioned weeks ago, a project you were working on, a challenge you were trying to solve, something you wanted to improve about yourself. And then one day, unexpectedly, she brings it up again. How is that situation going? Did things ever get better? To most men, it sounds like normal conversation, but psychologically, it means something deeper. Because someone who hasn't emotionally chosen you rarely invests energy remembering the details of your journey. But when a woman begins quietly supporting your growth, she is no longer only observing you as someone interesting. She is evaluating you as someone she might one day build a life beside. This is where another subtle shift appears. She begins encouraging you. Not exaggerated compliments, not empty praise, real encouragement. She believes in your potential, sometimes even before you realize how closely she has been watching. And here's something that surprises many men. A woman who truly chooses you does not only admire your strengths, she notices your weaknesses too, your doubts, the moments when you question yourself. But instead of judging those moments, she becomes curious about how you handle them. Do you grow or do you collapse under pressure? Do you take responsibility or blame the world? Because attraction for many women is not built only on what a man has already achieved. It's built on the direction he's moving. And when she sees consistent growth, even small growth, her respect deepens. Respect is often the quiet engine behind long-term attraction. Without it, feelings fade. With it, feelings become stronger over time. And when that respect grows, something else begins happening in her mind. She starts imagining what it might feel like to stand beside you as you grow, to support you, to be supported by you, to evolve together. But before she allows herself to fall completely into that idea, there is one more psychological moment that often appears, a moment many men misunderstand. At some point, a woman who feels deeply connected may pull back slightly, not dramatically, not in a way that clearly looks like rejection, just a subtle shift. Maybe she responds a little slower. Maybe she becomes slightly less expressive for a few days. Maybe she initiates conversation less often. To many men, this feels alarming. They assume something went wrong. They assume she lost interest. But often, something else is happening. She is observing your emotional stability. When a woman begins feeling strongly about someone, a natural fear appears. The fear of becoming emotionally dependent on someone who might hurt her. So she watches how you react to distance. Do you panic? Do you become needy? Or do you remain calm, confident, and grounded in your own life? Because deep down, many women feel safest with a man whose emotional state is not controlled by their behavior. If every small shift in her energy causes anxiety in you, she may subconsciously feel like she holds too much power over your emotions. And strangely enough, that can make her trust you less. But when a man remains steady, when he continues living his life with confidence, her respect grows. She sees that you value her, but you don't lose yourself because of her. And that balance is incredibly attractive. Eventually, her warmth returns, often stronger than before, because now she has learned something important. You are not someone searching for completion. You are someone who chooses her while already being whole. And that distinction matters more than most people realize. When her guard lowers even further, another beautiful sign begins to appear. She starts showing you parts of herself the rest of the world never sees. The polished version she shows everyone slowly fades away, and the real version of her begins to appear. Not all at once, but little by little. Maybe she shares a mistake from her past. Maybe she talks about something that once hurt her deeply. Maybe she admits an insecurity she rarely reveals. These moments are incredibly meaningful, because vulnerability is one of the most valuable emotional currencies a woman has. She does not spend it casually. She spends it where she feels safe. So when she begins revealing those unguarded parts of herself, it means she believes you will treat them with care. And when emotional safety appears in a connection, something powerful forms between two people. Comfort. Real comfort. Her laughter becomes more natural. Her personality becomes more playful, sometimes even a little strange in the charming ways she hides from the world. That authentic version of her, the one that isn't performing, isn't pretending, is the real person behind the image everyone else sees. And when she allows you to see that version of her, it means she trusts you deeply. But even then, she continues quietly observing, watching how you respond to her honesty. Do you listen with patience? Do you respect her openness? Or do you make her regret sharing something personal? Because in those small moments, she is making a very important decision. She is deciding whether her heart is safe with you. And if your response is understanding, calm, and emotionally mature, her trust grows quickly. At that point, her investment becomes real. No longer casual curiosity, no longer temporary attraction, real emotional attachment. And when that attachment forms, one final quiet shift begins to appear. She starts protecting the connection between you and her, not loudly, not possessively, but through small choices. Her attention toward other men becomes distant. Conversations remain polite, but never personal. Because once a woman has emotionally chosen someone, her curiosity about other options begins to fade. Her focus narrows. Her loyalty begins forming quietly. Most people think attraction is proven through big declarations, through dramatic confessions. But real emotional choice is quieter than that. It reveals itself through priorities, through time, through attention, through the way her eyes look for you first in a crowded room. Those are the moments that reveal the truth. So take a moment and think about the woman in your life. Have you ever noticed these quiet signs? Sometimes the deepest feelings are not spoken immediately. Sometimes they are simply shown, and once you understand the language of those small moments, you begin to see connection in a completely different way. If this opened your perspective even a little, stay curious about human psychology, because the quiet details of attraction often reveal the deepest truths about how people connect.